Hey everyone, this is Isaiah. Just wanted to come by and talk a little bit about shoes today. I'm not trying to sell anything. I don't have any sponsorships with any brands, though if any of them want to hit me up, please DM me. I would love that. Basically my journey has just been trying to jump higher and trying to dunk. And every little advantage, whether it was footwear or even socks or clothing or whatever, I was always looking for that edge to just get a little bit more, jump a little bit higher. I'll tell you guys a little story. In college, I was playing basketball a lot, but the highest I could jump was maybe to get up to the middle of the net. Most of the days, it was probably just towards the bottom of the net. And I wasn't training regularly, I wasn't lifting the right way, I wasn't lifting with any kind of purpose or intent. And, fast forward to around grad school time, I started meeting with someone who really coached me in his home gym and showed me the potential that you could unlock by lifting with a purpose, with a program and specific exercises geared towards a certain goal. And that's when I started to realize that jumping higher could actually be a possibility for me. That it wasn't just some pipe dream that I could dream about, but I could actually work towards this. And as these exercises, as this programming started to unlock my athletic potential, something I'd always been aware of was that I'm short. I started at 5'7", and every extra inch, every extra half inch I can get, every advantage I can push, like I talked about before, made a huge difference between being able to grab rim, to dunk, versus not being able to. And so that's how my interest in shoes came about, because this was something that you had to wear for basketball, and I was working with a limited budget, so I started trying different shoes, looking up which brands, which kinds of technology in these shoes would give me an advantage for being able to jump higher. And so like I said, I don't have any sponsorships or anything. I don't have any new shoes to show off or your new technology to show off. But I just wanted this to be me sharing what I found through my past couple pairs of shoes, what technology in them has been helpful, how I felt about them, their durability and things like that, what I felt comfortable jumping in and what I felt like gave me a boost. And I hope this will help other ballers who are on a budget to be able to jump higher and get the most out of their athletic potential. All right, so the first pair of shoes that I'm pulling out are the ones that I had in grad school. And these were built like a tank. These are the Nike Hyperfuse Lows. And I got this pair probably in 2013. It lasted me all through grad school and some years after that playing outside. So what I liked about this one was that it was durable. Like I said, this is built like a tank. Whatever technology they did for the Hyperfuse, as you can see, even with a lot of wear, the upper is still in decent shape. Of course, where I was cutting a lot on the inside of my foot, that's ripped up a little here. The sole's pretty much completely worn out and gone now. But it stayed good for a long time, and this pair of shoes coincided with when I started training purposefully and started to see my athletic potential kind of unlock a little more. And so this was the first pair of shoes that I touched the rim on. So this has always had, this pair of shoes has always had a special place for me, because that was where I started realizing that this dream could actually be achievable. So some of the stuff that I really like about it is that it's low to the ground. So when your foot is actually sitting in it, this arch right here, this little indentation, that's about where your foot sits. And so it's low to the ground, so it's very responsive. You don't lose a lot of force into the cushioning. Your force from jumping goes straight into the ground from the shoe because it's got a lower sole. It's got a zoom sole as well. This would be one of the earlier models of that zoom sole, so that's very responsive, good for cutting. You feel the floor, so for people who have sensitive feet, this probably wouldn't be the shoe for you, because you do feel those impacts, and it is a hard sole. It's not very cushioned, but for someone to bounce and really transfer as much of that force upward, this was a really responsive shoe for me, and I loved how it felt, and just really, I mean, the look of it doesn't hurt either. I like the colors, and I like the way that it fit. So I tend to go for narrower shoes because of how it feels like I'm just jumping off of my 2 feet. If I feel like some of the shoe is flapping off of me or just carrying extra weight, that's something that I'm looking to get rid of for my personal situation, because like I said, I need the extra bounce more so than I need the extra cushioning or the extra weight. So this next one that we're looking at is the KD Trey V, and you'll see right off the bat that this one is nowhere near as good a shape as the Hyperfuse was. So the construction is a lot less durable. This is all kind of more of a fabric feeling than the stiffer Hyperfuse. So this one I got right after I wore out the Hyperfuses. And this one was when I started using jump programs specifically to increase my vert. So this had a lot of wear from doing a lot of jumping out on pavement and wood courts. So a lot of people complain about the KD shoes being very narrow. I didn't have that problem with this, but what I had an issue with was that this sole is more foam, so it's a little softer than the Hyperfuse was. The Hyperfuse was really rigid, and this one actually has a lot more bend and flex to it compared to the Hyperfuse. So I felt like I was giving up a little potential energy just from the way this flexed instead of staying stiff for me, but it still worked pretty well. This shoe was where I had most of my jumps, snapping rim, getting up to actually get my hand around the rim instead of just grazing it up at the top. So it wore out quicker than the Hyperfuses did. But one thing I want to point out is that for all of the shoes I'm going to show you, the pattern on the sole kind of goes like this, where whatever the pattern is kind of waves or ridges like you have in the Hyperfuse. This pattern, from what I've read, is supposed to be helpful for gripping and transferring that energy, as opposed to maybe some other patterns that maybe go side to side this way or just kind of go all over the place. So in theory, this is not just aesthetics, but also can help with your grip and transferring energy from your approach to your jump. Next shoe I'm going to bring out is the Nike Flyby 2. I think this is the mid version. I think they also have a high top version. But this is what we're working with here. This is my second most recent one, so just before my current pair. So I'm currently using these for outside play when it's warm enough. I like this one because, well, first the results that I've gotten. These have been some of my highest jumps on 10-foot rims, being able to snap the rim and get close to being able to dunk. I'm not there yet, but sequentially the Hyperfuse first got me touching rim at about 9.8 or 9.10, and then the KDs got me to touching 10 feet and snapping slightly lower rims. And so this one I've had the best performance out of the highest peaks, but also some of my lowest jumps too. So I'm not sure what the consistency is about that. But one thing that's been good about this one is, again, like with the Hyperfuse, that stiffer sole, it doesn't have as much bend as the KDs did. And again, that stiffer sole is not for everybody, but especially when I'm short and trying to get a little bit more performance out of my shoes, that's a key piece for me. So it might not be as comfortable, but for one jump, I'll take that trade-off. I was initially not sold about how they have this leather piece here. Generally, I just like my shoes to have more of that I don't know, kind of that stiffer, more durable kind of look, like with the Hyperfuse, and I'd really fallen in love with that look. But these grew on me more because, as you can see, like the leather hasn't worn off or anything, it hasn't torn, which I was used to. So again, this is a lot of fabric like it has on the KD, but one thing that I liked is whatever this mesh piece here is some of a cross between what you have in the Hyperfuse, which look really kind of futuristic, and the KDs, which were more of a throwback to just more cloth and fabric. This one is kind of in between the Hyperfuse and the KDs in terms of how high your foot sits off the ground. So I would probably prefer my foot to be a little lower in this shoe, but again, that stiffness makes up for a lot of that. And you'll see again, a lot of this in the sole has worn off, but again, that pattern on the sole with the waves going across and up, again, I don't know how scientifically backed that is, but these are the shoes that I've been jumping in and playing in, and they've worked out for me okay. So I'd give this durability an in-between, performance kind of an in-between. So I like the shoe. I've had the highest peaks with it, jumping the highest with it outside. I haven't had a good opportunity to test it on indoor courts because of COVID, of course. So this is still kind of an incomplete for me so far. I feel really good about taking it outside, and it's been good for that. But again, I just don't know where that's going to go on an indoor versus an outdoor court. So I'm actually interested in you all's feedback when it comes to that. Do you feel like you jump higher on the pavement or on the wood? So go ahead and comment that below, because I'd be interested to hear how you all have done with that. All right, final shoe we're looking at today. These are the ones I'm currently using, the Kyrie Flytrap 2. And this shoe combines a lot of what I've been looking for in my past shoes, right? So you've got this really stiff sole that I love. It fits really snug to the foot, so originally my foot hurt a little bit when I first broke these shoes in, but now that they're molded pretty well to my feet, they feel really good and really snug when I'm playing. So that helps the feel and the performance of the shoe. It's got that zoom sole again, so again, stiff, good for cutting, good for jumping. It's got a similar material in this upper as the Flyby 2, so that kind of durability. It's been through a good bit, probably a half year, a little more of play, and it's still looking pretty new. I haven't had any shoes with this kind of, I guess it's a plastic or like a carbon kind of ridge. I don't know if this is just an aesthetic piece or if it's supposed to be ankle or Achilles support. So that's still left to be determined. If you know what this is for, go ahead and comment below so I can figure out what that's all about. This pattern on the sole, I know Kyrie's had a lot of input on like the designs and the symbolism that he puts into his shoes. So I don't know if some of these were an aesthetic choice, but you've got some of that wave pattern going up and down and lines going across. It's still kind of zigzagging. So I don't know exactly what it does for the grip there. One frustration that I've had in trying to really stress test the shoe and jump really high with it is that I'm only using it in the gym right now, and the gym that I go to, it has super dusty floors. Like they don't wipe it off very well or at all. So every time I don't feel comfortable going for a max vert because I know my foot is going to slip and slide. It can't really bite into the floor. So I might wait for a time to use these outdoors when it warms up, or maybe when they clean the floor or something, and really see what this shoe can do. So this one is definitely a to be determined on how well it performs, because I just haven't had the conditions to be able to use it the way I want to. So what's the takeaway from all this? Like I said, I'm not here to sell shoes. I would love to be able to do that. That would be a super cool opportunity. I'm just sharing what I've learned from my experience, reading a little bit about the technology behind the shoes, some of which is just really amazing. But just hoping to share some of that knowledge about what goes into these shoes and how we can get the most out of them depending on what you're looking for. A lot of people are not gonna want the same kind of shoes that I do. Maybe you need that kind of foot support or durability or cushioning, whatever. I think the takeaway from me is that getting the edge you need or you want out of your shoes especially doesn't have to break the bank. And I'm looking forward to continuing on this jumping journey and sharing it with you guys along the way.